Every day, millions of people disappear, not physically, mentally. They're sitting in classrooms, driving to work, lying in bed at 2 a.m., scrolling through their phones. But they're not really there. Their bodies exist in the present. Their minds don't. Instead, they live somewhere else. A future where they're finally successful. A future where they're finally loved. A future where they've finally proven everyone wrong. A future where everything makes sense. And for a few seconds, it feels real. The promotion, the relationship, the perfect body, the dream life, the applause, the revenge, the escape. Then reality returns. And reality feels smaller, a little more disappointing, a little more empty. So the mind does what it has learned to do. It leaves again. Most people think addiction comes from substances, alcohol, nicotine, drugs. But some addictions are invisible. Some addictions don't destroy the body. They quietly consume the present moment. And one of the most common addictions in modern society is addiction to a future that doesn't exist. The strange part is that almost nobody talks about it, because from the outside it looks productive, ambitious, hopeful, motivated. But underneath that hopeful fantasy, something darker is happening. The human brain evolved to predict the future. Thousands of years ago, survival depended on it. If you could imagine danger before it arrived, you lived. If you could anticipate problems, you protected yourself. Your ancestors survived because their minds could leave the present and simulate tomorrow. But modern life has turned that survival mechanism into a trap. Today, the future isn't a tool, it's a product. Every advertisement sells one. Every influencer displays one. Every algorithm feeds one. Every scroll whispers the same message. Your real life isn't enough. But look at this future. This future is, and slowly, something begins to happen. People stop experiencing life and start imagining it. They stop enjoying relationships and start imagining better ones. They stop building skills and start imagining success. They stop living and start rehearsing over and over again inside their heads. The terrifying thing is that imagination feels rewarding. Neuroscientists have discovered that the brain often responds to imagined rewards in ways surprisingly similar to anticipated real rewards, which means your brain can receive emotional satisfaction from a future that hasn't happened and may never happen. Think about that. You can experience the pleasure of success without becoming successful, the excitement of love without risking rejection, the feeling of accomplishment without doing the work. For a brain designed to conserve energy, that's an irresistible deal. Why struggle through uncertainty when fantasy delivers immediate emotional relief? Why face discomfort when imagination offers comfort? And that's where the addiction begins. Not because people are weak, but because fantasy becomes medicine, a temporary escape from modern life. And modern life gives people plenty of reasons to escape. Financial pressure is everywhere. Housing feels further away. Relationships feel more fragile. Attention is constantly under attack. The average person absorbs more information in a day than previous generations encountered in weeks. Notifications, news, algorithms, endless comparisons, endless expectations, endless reminders that someone, somewhere, appears to be living a better life. The result is psychological exhaustion, and exhausted minds seek refuge. Some people find it in entertainment. Some find it in substances. Others find it in imagined futures. The fantasy becomes a private sanctuary, a place where everything eventually works out. But there's a hidden cost. The more emotionally invested you become in a fictional future, the more painful reality starts to feel. Because reality is slow. Reality is messy. Reality doesn't arrive with cinematic music. Reality involves uncertainty, failure, boredom, waiting. The future inside your mind is perfect because it has never been tested. Reality is imperfect because it always is. And eventually, a dangerous pattern emerges. People become emotionally attached to possibilities, not realities. They fall in love with who they might become, while neglecting who they are. They become obsessed with potential, while avoiding action. Dreaming starts replacing living. The future becomes a substitute for the present, and years disappear this way. Not through catastrophe, not through tragedy, but through postponement. I'll be happy when... The sentence sounds harmless, until you realize it's quietly consuming decades. I'll be happy when I make more money. I'll be happy when I move. I'll be happy when I find someone. I'll be happy when I lose weight. I'll be happy when life finally begins. But life doesn't begin later. Life only exists here, in the uncomfortable now. And that's the truth many people spend years avoiding, because the present moment often feels disappointing compared to the future they've constructed. Yet something strange happens when people finally achieve the things they spent years fantasizing about. The satisfaction fades, the promotion arrives, then becomes normal. The relationship begins, then becomes familiar. The achievement happens, then becomes yesterday. Psychologists call this hedonic adaptation. Humans adapt remarkably quickly to improved circumstances, which means the mind immediately starts creating another future, another destination, another fantasy, another promise. The horizon keeps moving, and the chase never ends. This is why some of the most successful people on Earth remain restless, because the problem was never the destination. It was the relationship with the future itself. The mind became addicted to anticipation, not fulfillment, to longing, not arrival, to chasing, not having, and suddenly a disturbing question emerges. What if the thing stealing your life isn't failure? What if it's waiting for the moment you'll finally allow yourself to live, waiting for permission, waiting for certainty, waiting for a future version of yourself that never fully arrives? Because every future eventually becomes a present, and every present eventually becomes the past. The clock never stops moving. The future you're imagining right now will one day be a memory, or a regret. The difference depends on what happens next. Not tomorrow, not someday. Now, because beneath all the noise of modern life, beneath every ambition, every fantasy, every dream, lies a reality most people spend years trying not to see. Your life is not happening in the future. It never was. The future is a mental projection, a story, a possibility, a shadow on the wall. The only thing that has ever truly belonged to you is this moment. And perhaps that's why it feels so uncomfortable. Because the present asks something fantasy never asks. Participation, not imagination. Action, not anticipation. Reality, not escape. The future will always be seductive. It will always promise meaning, happiness, and completion. But if you're not careful, you'll spend your entire life preparing to live, instead of living. And one day, the future you've been chasing will finally arrive, only to reveal something that was true from the beginning. You were never searching for a better future. You were searching for permission to be present, and that permission was yours all along.